start from the beginning? Hello. And then we also have Selena Castle, who's an HR business partner with MRA. So once again, this webinar will be live streamed on our Facebook page and then released on our YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll have you just introduce yourself a little bit first. Holly, you're in my upper left corner, so I'll start with you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. My name is Molly, and I am for Next Generation Wireless. And I am the current president for SHRM-SCP, which is a membership organization that consists of HR and business professionals across the Valley. We're almost 200 members, so I'm excited to be here.
Very good. Thanks. Thanks, Molly. How about you, Meg?
Yeah, so again, my name is Meg Sernett, and thank you also for having me join today. As you mentioned, Carrie, there's a lot of things that employers need to consider, they haven't had to consider before, and there's no playbook or precedent. This is all new territory, so it's great to be able to share with everyone today. I work for the HR Connect division at PDCM, so we partner with organizations regarding HR compliance and their HR initiatives. So that may be a one-time project that we do for them. It could be putting together a training or series of trainings, or HR outsourcing. Is another way that we work with companies.
Very good. Thanks, Meg. And then Selena, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. So I am Selena Castle. I'm an HR business partner with MRA. We are the largest employers association. We're a membership organization, and we offer several lines of business that covers just about everything you can imagine in HR, from recruiting to affirmative action to background screening. I am an HR business partner, which means I essentially do consulting, where I come alongside a member organization and offer all different types of services. Compliance tends to be my specialty. I've been in HR for 15 plus years. I was a lawyer in former life. So compliance, investigation, policy writing, anything you can imagine. Also can serve as outsourced HR manager. So I have a couple of nonprofits that I regularly service.
Very good. One thing, so as the restrictions during the pandemic kind of shut down, so to speak, occurred, but many of these restrictions are now being lessened. So for you, what is the number one either concern or question that you're seeing with your clients or your business partners? Selena, let's start with you.
Now that restrictions are loosening, well, I'm in Illinois.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother ball game. I'm in the Quad Cities, so I also service Davenport, Bettendorf, and those kinds. But Illinois is one of the tighter states. But we brought our numbers significantly lower. We're definitely on the low part of the curve, which is great. So a lot of it is navigating. Of course, I'm in a bi-state area, so Illinois and Iowa could not be more diverse. Could not be more. We just have Mississippi. It takes me 2 minutes to cross the bridge. So we have a lot of employers that are bi-state, and the question is, how do we navigate Illinois employees coming into Iowa, Iowa employees coming into Illinois? What does that look like? And so it's not been easy. It's been extremely complicated for everyone. We're and things are changing rapidly. So it's a matter of keeping up and understanding how those two states can kind of talk to one another or not, and how you navigate that.
Okay. How about you, Molly? What's been the number one concern that you've had, or those that you're working with?
Yeah, just a lot of questions and conversations about how to reopen, what can we do as an employer, what should we do as an employer. I would say probably our number one question is how to handle those employees that are fearful of coming back to work. Maybe because they are high risk, they're not, and they're just still really scared about everything going on. So that's probably the number one question.
Okay. And Meg?
Yeah, so we hear from a lot of employers on employees that may be eligible under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and what are the proper procedures or steps that employers should be going through to be offering this to employees. Again, kind of that compliance piece of it, and especially as schools are closing and now we're getting into the summer, that brings a whole new ballgame. You're having people come back to work who may now have issues with daycare. And then also the second part of it is employees that may have had exposure. How do we handle them in our workforce? Do we keep them at work? What are the steps and processes that the employer should go through to make sure that they're keeping their employees safe, the employee who may be exposed, clients and visitors, etc.
Right. So I imagine that, and maybe not you so much, Selena, if you're Illinois, but you're watching some of the legislature and the bills going through about protecting businesses and healthcare workers and healthcare providers in dealing with COVID cases that may come up. And I know that there are many businesses who are fearful of opening because they don't know what exposure will do to them from a liability standpoint. Is that something that you've had to address yet? Or is that something yet to come about as we're open longer? Anybody?
So
go ahead. Selena, go ahead.
Sorry. So workers' comp concerns are real. The fact of the matter is a work-related illness can be covered under workers' compensation. In Illinois, they implemented initially a presumption in favor of the employee that has since gone by the wayside. But I think that's going to be the wave of the future in all states, that ultimately, if you have an employee currently working and they in fact contract COVID, presumption could be that it is in fact work related. And I think trying to disprove that as an employer, saying, well, they had somebody at home, they're just all the steps that you would need to go to do to cover that and to defend yourself for workers' comp. It is absolutely a real concern. That presumption in favor of employees is actually kind of sweeping across. I'd say brace yourself. I think it's going to be coming because somebody has to pay for all these medical bills and all these lost time and all this, healthcare expense. And so workers' comp is a real concern, absolutely.
How about you, Molly? Anything from that perspective?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the next couple of years play out. I think that's when it's all going to come. I think from an employer perspective, what I'm seeing is we're all just trying to do the right thing, trying to do everything that we can to keep, our employees, our customers safe, and holding our team accountable to these new practices and procedures that we're putting in place, documenting what we're doing, because there is no playbook, like Meg has said, and it's really just all just trying to do the right thing, and making sure we come through.
Right. So you talked about the playbook and the policies and everything, and Meg, so what are, obviously a lot of this you've already explained is new and it's nothing we could have ever prepared for. So what is kind of your checklist, or what do you typically when you're called from one of your clients or partners, what do you start with? Where do you start with making sure people are being compliant and kind of at ease a little bit about going back, opening their doors again?
Right. So we want to make sure that they have a set action plan put in place, and they're very strategic about all the steps they're going to take once they open up, and that all of it's communicated to their employees. And so that might include thinking about, do we need to make a change to the physical setup of our building? What are some additional cleaning protocols that we're going to do? We need to take some chairs out of the conference room. Are we going to be providing PPE? masks? Are we going to require it in common areas all day, or what that procedure will be? And then symptom checks. Some companies will be doing symptom checks, some will not. And so putting together that plan is going to help guide not only, as you open up, but as you go forward as well, and making sure that you're training all of your managers, you're communicating to your employees, you're training to your managers what these new policies are, because they're the ones who are going to have to help enforce the policies. And then also we need to be aware of how are we going to address those employees that are fearful of that. Generalized fear in itself is not a reason that they cannot come to work, but we need to understand the fear is real. And so in that situation, in addition to all of them, flexibility, I think, are going to be two key things. We need to keep communicating with our employees and working with them to try and find solutions that are within parameters and meet their needs as well.
So, Molly or Selena, anything to add to that about preparing folks for reopening?
No, I would agree. Everything Meg said is perfect. Communication and empathy are something that can go a long way in having patience with where everybody is at in this journey personally.
Right. When you talk about policies, and there are going to be new policies, because of the reopening, because of the pandemic, do you suspect that some of those policies will remain permanent? Are there any policies that you're seeing or that you're becoming aware of that you think are going to be ongoing regardless? It's just the new normal, as I've been saying. I don't know, Selena, how about you?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think everyone worldwide is in agreement that we're not going to go back to the old normal. It's going to be the new normal. That's the new catchphrase.
Right.
So the fact of the matter is, if nothing else, this situation has taught us that we do need to be prepared for the future. So previously using the term pandemic and talking about pandemic preparedness seemed like a long way off, a distance. The future may be, rare occasion, but now we realize pandemic possibility is real, whether previously it was SARS, now we're dealing with COVID. So pandemic preparedness was always on the back burner, I think, for most people, most businesses, is now moved forefront. And that includes, what are our remote working options? What kind of policies, procedures, and practices do we need to be in place? What's our technology? A lot of scrambling to secure our technology, our network, our secure those systems and update our equipment. All of that is new things that were back burner projects that moved to the forefront. And so, so those are going to affect, and I think those are going to be in place in the long term.
Another PP acronym, pandemic preparedness.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you, Molly? What do you see as far as those policies that will stick around?
Yeah, I think the remote work is absolutely one. Even things like daily meetings. What are they going to look like going forward? Even if you are in the same building, like I'm at work right now, but we all have our own separate spaces, but we're still not getting together for meetings. So just figuring out what this is going to look like long term, and just having the technology set up to do so.
Yeah, in addition to what both Selena and Molly mentioned, I think one of the things that we'll see a change with is sick policies that companies have. I think we've all been guilty. I have myself. I'm not feeling well, but I can get through the day and
push through. Yeah.
Not be 100%. And I think it's going to be more of an awareness of employees saying, I don't feel well today. Maybe I can still get some work done. Can I do that from home if possible? But I don't think we'll see as many employees, or be a little more flexible as well. If the employees are coming in and they're not 100%, they may be saying, you know what, why don't you go home for the day and finish there? So I think we'll see a little shift in sick leave policies, in how both the employer and employee looks at that.
How about, you've all mentioned working remotely, and I know for our organization, we now know we can, and we know we can get our work done, so it's going to be an option. And I know we're not alone. I think almost everybody has had that realization, whether they wanted to or not. They're forced to figure it out. But are there any do you think that there are going to be any HR changes or policies or guidelines from an HR perspective about accommodations for people that are working remotely? you know, whether, I mean, I know we needed to make sure that if all of our team members had access to internet, internet, and then they would take their laptops home, and we didn't want to depend on their personal technology or computers to get their work done. So, but do you think there's going to be just are going to be some guidelines on, you know, making sure they've got internet, making sure they've got phone access and these kinds of things that are most people do have, but can you make those assumptions as an employer? Go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, and I think this comes down to making sure that you have a solid remote work or telework policy, and you express those items in that policy. You know, also including, you may have client information at your home, so what type of parameters need to be put in place from a privacy standpoint, right? From technology, but also, you know, physical client information just out on your desks. And so, you know, I think there definitely needs to be a focus if we see that shift to more people staying, working from home, that companies need to have a solid work from home policy.
Right. And I'm guessing that most organizations like ours, it's going to be kind of a hybrid, but there's going to be a lot more flexibility in knowing that when people work remotely, they really are working, which I know with the, you know, the perception was, you know, you're going to let them work from home. You really think they are? So, yeah. Go ahead, Selena, you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, so just to tack on to Meg, company property is a big one. She mentioned confidentiality, privacy issues, but also the integrity of our property, the return of our property. If everybody's working remotely, how do we be sure we get it back if they move on? All those types of things are affected, and business expenses. So if somebody upgrades their internet in order to work on our system or to work effectively, what is our obligation to pay for that? Illinois, for example, has a business expense law that went into effect January 1st, 2019, where employers are required to pay certain business expenses. So all those things that, you know, in practical sense is what does that look like, and how do we define what we're willing to pay for, not pay for? How do we get our property back? How do we have a reporting process where somebody loses their property or breaks their property, or, you know, all of those things I think need to be tightened up. Company property policies tend to be about a paragraph and about 5 sentences. And I think those company property policies and those confidentiality policies are going to grow to be perfectly clear about expectations. And I also think there's a challenge, my guess is a lot of people watching this, for non-exempt people, hourly employees, reporting their time, tracking their time, reporting it accurately, so that we know what they're submitting is what they're being paid for, so we don't get caught off guard later when they say, oh, I forgot to report this, I did this. And all of that is just a logistical situation that employers are having to deal with.
Interesting. Molly, you want to add to that?
Yeah, maybe not so much from a policy standpoint, but a lot of questions that I think employers are asking is, do we need this big office space now? What are we going to do with our existing? Can we downsize? Can we reduce some expenses here? Do we need to look at our open concept work area? Maybe that's not practical going forward. I think we see a lot of changes in that trend. You know, you leave your call, which is interesting. And then a lot of questions around, okay, if we are going to do more or all remote work, what is that going to do to our culture, and how do we maintain the culture that we want to have, the relationships that we want to have, and seeing people get really creative and figuring this out, and how this is going to be forward.
I like that you brought in the culture piece because, I mean, for so long we've all been working hard at really enriching our cultures. I mean, industry-wide, everyone is realizing that, I mean, that engagement, employee engagement is just so critically important, and it's going to look possibly entirely different. So how do we make sure we still connect and are engaged and have a strong, respectful, nurturing culture? So that's really, really interesting. So, hey, we've got, go ahead, Selena, please.
Oh, I was just going to tack on that very quickly. I think we would all be surprised. The millennials, those who grew up with technology, we would think they'd be fine with remote working, and they're used to that. They text as their main source of communication. But studies are showing actually the millennials are missing that camaraderie. They're missing that all coming together. They long for that workplace culture of the open dynamic and coming together and sharing, because they are so otherwise, you know,
right.
on their phones and solitary. And so employers are going to have to deal with that, and there's that employee engagement piece that employers are going to really have to look at about making sure they're keeping employees engaged with each other, and depression, suicide, all of that is real in those generations that are used to being alone, but that doesn't mean it's healthy or that's really what they want.
Or isolation. I mean, that isolation is real. It really is a concern. We've got a few more minutes, but this has been awesome, and I hope you'd be willing to come back, because what we know about this pandemic or this crisis or the reopening is that, and we know in our office too, everything's really fluid. I've put together a manual, and we said, this can be edited like daily if we have to, because we've never done this before. So we realize that. So my hope is that you'll come back, because we know there are going to be changes and there are going to be adjustments that we can't even imagine right now. So having this resource development is really important. But just in the last few minutes, I'd ask each of you, in closing, what would you like to share with those who are watching? I mean, I know there's a lot of anxiety about making sure people are safe, and like you said, Molly, the nurturing piece of this is really important, because we've all gone through a pretty horrific adjustment, both personally and professionally. So we'll start with you, Molly. How would you like to your parting comments with the group?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, the news often shows those organizations that have had an outbreak. So I think it's important to remember and learn from all of those organizations that have remained open in their facilities and have not had an outbreak. They're doing something correctly. And I think it's important to focus on those organizations saying, hey, it can be done, let's figure it out.
Awesome. That's very good. Okay, Selena, how about you?
Yeah, thank you. So for me, I worked on the hotline, so that's a 24/7 call that organizations can call to pick our brain on anything that they're going through. And what I want to say to those of you in HR is, we are so busy and so focused on making sure we're doing what we need to in the best interest of the business, but also taking care of our employees. And my question is, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Because it is such a high stress, whether you're officially an HR person or you're performing that function, we're so in the middle of making everybody happy, and I think we are just taking on a lot of stress and a lot of things we've never had to deal with before. And so I want to say, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Do the little things, take the time. If you need to bring in flowers and put it on your desk to have a little happy place at work, what are you doing to also focus on your own mental health and making sure because we're looking at long term, we're looking at potential hitting us again in the fall. So we really need to start thinking longer term about taking care of ourselves, business leaders, HR people, and also that what you do as an executive trickles down and reflects to everybody else. And so if you want to encourage others to take care of their mental health and their needs, also reflect that in yourself as well. Make sure you're doing that and have really good open communication with your employees.
Absolutely. I mean, I think communication is more critical now than ever, and it's always been important, but because you can't always see body language, you can't always have, those cues that you normally could be part of, and now it's on a screen, and so you really can't. You've got to be forthcoming with information, going both ways. So
Yeah, and I think it's important. There was a line that came out in one of my roundtables. I think that's fantastic. Employees look to their leaders to be humans, not superheroes. And so it's okay to show that you have concerns. It's okay to be open about that and just have that dialogue and, partner with your employees.
Thank you. How about you, Meg? What would you like to say?
Kind of to add to both what Molly and Selena said, is that flexibility is going to be the key. You can put together a great action plan, but you need to be flexible to know that there's going to be some changes along the way. A great thing to do that we've been seeing a lot of our clients do is a pre-entry survey. Your employees are going to have all different feelings that are across the board, from I'm okay coming back in, I don't have a fear, to I don't want to come back in. So being able to, from the beginning, to get their input, that's going to help you as an employer with what you put into place and how you guide that reopening. And again, needing to be flexible throughout the entire process, because we just don't know. There's nothing we can look back on to say this is the best way to do it. Right? We need to just go with it and make adjustments as needed.
So it's interesting you pointed out flexibility, and I've been talking to our team about being consistent, because if we can't just be bouncing off the walls and every time we do something, it can't be done differently every single time. And yet you need the flexibility in order to be able to pivot quickly if you need to. So it's just kind of a push me, pull me kind of environment that, like you said, Selena, you do need to give yourself grace, because no one's ever gone through it, at least not in our generation, this way before. So taking care of yourself and giving yourself grace is very, very important. So again, as I mentioned, I hope the three of you will join us again. I know there are going to be ongoing questions and concerns, and like we talked about earlier, things that are going to come up that we haven't even discussed yet, that we had no idea were part of it. So thank you for sharing a portion of your day with us. And I know if anybody would like to get in touch with any of you, that contact information is on our website too, and then on the invitation. So as far as how to get. So we, and the rest of you who are watching, will have another webinar this Thursday. We're going to be talking to folks from the water park, and both the water park in Waterloo and Cedar Falls, and some of the recreation this summer. So if you are taking a staycation and not traveling very far from home, there's still things to do around here that make this a great place to live. So thank you all so much. Talk later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.